Well, all that you have to say in Florida in order to file for divorce, there are no real grounds other than the marriage is irretrievably broken. And that means if one party wants out, there's no looking back. The court's not going to stop that. We are a no-fault divorce state. In other words, you don't have to prove that anyone did anything particularly wrong. You don't have to prove that there was an affair. You don't have to prove that someone committed financial fraud or some other heinous crime within the context of the marriage in order to get out of it. Just say you want out and you're going to be able to get out. That's it. That's how we roll in Florida. One of the things that is great about no-fault divorce, we think that people want to go to court and say, well, he cheated, she cheated, she spent all the money, he spent all the money, and the court needs to know about it. One, the court doesn't care at all. They only care about the best interest of your children. That's it. Or if there's a situation where there might be abuse of some kind, then we might care about some things, but certainly not your extramarital infidelity. The court doesn't care about it. However, in Florida, one of the benefits of the court not caring about that, is that it allows people to get out of marriages far more easily when they are the under-earner in the scenario, who can't afford a lawyer who is going to have to do investigations to figure out what went wrong here in order to prove it to the court. Also, in Florida, you can file for divorce right away. In other states, you do have to have a waiting period of up to a year in certain states where you have to be legally separated. In Florida, no such thing as legal separation. It's, you can separate, but there's no quote unquote legal separation. We go straight to divorce when you're ready. So often I get this question. They're like, how am I going to divide up my stuff? I paid for the house, or I had the house before we got married, but we renovated it. I have a fantastic wine collection of, Screamin' Eagle wine that is insanely expensive. And so who gets that and how do we divide it up? In other words, how do you divide up what's undividable, right? So in Florida, unlike, I think that clients come to me and they think it's going to be 50-50, right? It's going to be 50-50. That is not the rule in the state of Florida. Here, we have something called equitable distribution. Equitable equals fair. We're just looking at what is fair for the parties. So if, let's say, we've got a woman who is a high-powered CEO, and she has been the breadwinner for the entirety of the marriage, and her husband has stayed home, taken care of the kids, done all the PTA meetings, done all of those things. Anything that was earned during the course of that marriage is marital. It doesn't matter that he was the under-earner and that she was the earner. The things that they possess, including things like bank accounts, and it doesn't matter if the bank account was opened during the course of the marriage, unless there is a prenuptial agreement or something else, some other agreement in place that separates that property out and makes it non-marital, that is a marital asset, and it's going to be added to what we call an equitable distribution schedule. In other words, what we do is we list out, this is why my clients hate this part, I hate this part. We literally have you go through and you're going to aggregate, compile all of your financial documents for every single bank account, every 401k, every IRA, every military pension, your military disability benefits, all of those things, plus your credit cards, your credit card debt. That goes on this schedule too. So it's not just the stuff. It's also the tangible things, such as Screamin' Eagle wine collection. That goes right on there too. And we have to get it valued. One of the questions that people ask, even when they're reaching out to our law firm, to Brava Law, on our contact form, one of the questions that they have will say, hey, what would help us with your initial consult? And they'll say, I want to know if I'm going to have to pay alimony. I want to know if I'm going to get alimony. And the answer is, I don't know. because the alimony rules in Florida are that alimony is not automatic. It is not automatic. If you have children, child support might be automatic, but definitely alimony is not. To just put it into context, alimony is an amount of money that might be paid to the under-earning spouse for a period of time based on the length of the marriage, based on the inequality of income and need of the spouse that was the under-earner, and ability to pay. There are multiple types of alimony in the state of Florida. Recently, last year-ish, year and a half ago, the state of Florida did away with something that was called permanent alimony. So there are types of alimony that are based on, again, the duration of the marriage. How long did you stick it out in this marriage? Hopefully some of it was good. So the short-term marriages are 6 years and under. If you've been married for 6 years or under and you have need for alimony and ability, and the other party has ability to pay, then you can get up to 50% of the term of that marriage. So that would be 3 years. And that's for all types of alimony. I'll get into that in just a second. In a midterm marriage, which is 10 to 20 years of wedded bliss, the party that would be eligible for alimony might be eligible for up to 60% of the duration of that marriage. So somewhere in that span. Over 20 years, no longer are you able to get permanent alimony, but you are able to get up to 75% of the period of the marriage in durational alimony. So these are called durational alimony. The other type of alimony that you might see is rehabilitative or bridge the gap alimony. Bridge the gap are simply in place to allow the under-earning partner who maybe needs to get back on their feet in order to not have you pay alimony for a really long time, so that they can go out and get educated. They go take the AI class that they've been fascinated by and need to go do now because that's the world just turned on a dime and that's where all the opportunity is. Whoever needs to pay the under-earning spouse, rehabilitative or bridge the gap alimony, kick it in. This will save you a world of hurt, because if you really want to not be tied financially forever, this is your best bet. Okay, so one of the other types of alimony, after we've talked about durational, the other type of alimony that we want to hit next is rehabilitative alimony. Now, in order to qualify for rehabilitative alimony, the spouse that is claiming that they the right to it or to be eligible for it needs to, 1, be the under-earner, 2, have a need to get some skills to get back out into the workplace so that they can take care of themselves and live independently again. So they've probably been dependent on the other spouse. The thing that the court needs to see in order to bless a rehabilitative alimony request is an actual rehabilitative plan. So I am going to go to USF and get my master's degree in online digital marketing. I'm going to go back to school and get a master's degree in education, and I'm going to teach school. I'm going to, whatever the plan may be, it needs to have some legs to it to say, yes, I am on a track that within this 2-year period is going to help me get independent of my former spouse. So that's the point of it. Now, if you are the almost former spouse and you're objecting to rehabilitative alimony, well, why? Why don't you want your former partner in life to be able to take care of themselves? Because you know what that's going to mean? You will not be on the hook for durational alimony as long if you can get this down, right? So if your spouse is asking for rehabilitative alimony, it's going to be combined with your durational alimony, potentially bridge the gap alimony. Bridge the gap is exactly what it says it is. It's just for about 6 months max, and just to get somebody through to the other side of this equation. The other type of alimony that you may ask for out of the gate, again, if you're the under earner and Or if you're not the under earner, if you're the earner and your spouse has been the under earner and you have kept them in the dark about their finances, it is very likely that someone is going to ask for temporary alimony. Now, that is a whole separate process that happens within the context of the divorce proceeding. So this is a separate petition, a separate motion, a petition for temporary relief. There's a whole process around it. It typically takes about 3 months to even get the documentation needed, because you're going to need all the financials. You're going to have to prove need and ability to pay, just like any other type of alimony. But this can be what a spouse might need to go get the apartment, to pay their lawyer, to lots of other things. So you can also have a motion for temporary attorney's fees within this context, not alimony, but in that same vein as an initial temporary petition to help the under earner get through this really difficult time. I just want to encourage you that if you're facing divorce and these are the questions that are plaguing you, you're worrying about whether or not you're going to get alimony, you're worrying about whether you're going to have to pay it, you're mad, maybe you're mad about all of it. Well, you know what? You're not getting a divorce unless you're mad. But if these are the things that are plaguing you at night and keeping you up, and you're wondering what that Screaming Eagle wine collection's worth or what those Chagall's are worth, and you don't know how you're going to divide that up, or you know you're not going to cut the parrot in half, and you want to know how you're going to get through this, give us a call. Just call Bravo Law. We're here to help. I have been through it myself, and we're humans first, and we're lawyers second, and we really see you. And we know that you're way more than your stuff and your house and a paycheck and a financial spreadsheet. You're a person, and this is going to be, I hope, the hardest thing you've ever done in your whole life. I hope you never have to face anything this difficult. So we get it. We get the financial piece. We get the stuff piece. We get the kid piece. But more than anything, we get you. And we see you, and we're here to navigate through this with you.